Thanks so much for being here, spending some time together at Cabin Fever Crochet. I'm Helene. Welcome, welcome one and all. I hope you and yours, your loved ones, everyone is doing really, really well on this Thanksgiving weekend. Well, my Dreamy Beanie and Dreamy Cowl are making a reappearance here today. A tutorial that I did almost 2 years ago, but now in a little bit of an altered state. And that's okay because I am too, still in a bit of a turkey coma mode. So hopefully I can explain to you what I have in my mind, what I did on this. So if you want to go back to that tutorial, then you can see the changes that I made here. It's a really easy stitch pattern. The changes are easy. That way you can customize it even more. But I had fun with this. It was a custom order and I finished that and I wanted to show you what I did. And I've also finished up some other projects for a holiday fair coming a week from this Saturday on December 4th. And it's going to be outside. It has to be in order for us to have it. So that's going to be really interesting. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. It won't be too cold, but the vendors, we have rented a very large commercial tent for all of us. And then there are going to be little satellite tents around for the food booths. And we're going to have a warming station, hot apple cider. All of the vendors, we're each going to bring one baked item. Could be from a bakery or homemade or whatever, and then have those for all the people that come. And I think there's going to be hay rides and live music and all sorts of fun. So I'm really looking forward to it. All right, so I want to show you what I did, and I'm going to explain. I used 3 different colored yarns, 2 different types, and 2 different weights to make it all come together in marital bliss, and that it did. I'm so pleased with it, and I really hope my customer will be too. I'm excited to give that to her, but I really wanted to show you this before it goes to its new home. Hopefully the lighting is still good also. Okay, so as usual, my links, everything that I talk about, that's going to be below in the description box. And also the hat that I'm wearing, if you missed it, oh, so sad, but not too bad, because you can get to that also. It is the pine cone stitch tutorial for my convertible, reversible, customizable hat that I did a collab with 2 of my other YouTube friends. So it's a really fun one. Isn't that neat? That's a vintage pin. I started going through my old jewelry and it's not doing good just sitting there. And old, but new again. Isn't that fun? And an easy thing to decorate a hat or whatever, you know, and it's not permanent, which is nice. Okay, so to this, the yarn I used Knit Crate, and this is one that has their stellina in it. This is, I believe, 80% merino, 10 nylon, and 10% stellina. Do you like stellina? What do you think of it? I love it. To me, it's so soft. Yes, the little filaments do stick up, but they also resemble fiber and hairs, and for me, they integrate well enough into the fibers. Don't lose them. And the combination of everything, there's just zero itch factor, considering this is wool, but it is superwash merino. This one is a sport weight. It's been discontinued, but I'm so glad that I got enough when I did. I had a couple for me, and I just had this feeling, get a few more just in case I get that just one person who really wants something special. And yay, that worked out. And then the other yarns I got were from Hobby Lobby, and she and I met there and she picked them out, and that was terrific. And so this is their authentic yarn. It's 100% superwash merino. This is in their hand-dyed tonal. So I used a dark denim, and then this one is called Lavender Dusk, which reads very berry to me. All right, so I'm going to show you and tell you what I did and how I combined the yarns together. All right. right? And I started with I wound these, it came in hanks, so I had two cakes of each of the Hobby Lobby, and then I went through 2 cakes of these, but I worked with one at a time. And so while winding them into a cake, I do wind up with 2 strands, one from the center pull and then one from the outer side, and then I took 1 strand from the second cake. And then with the sparkle yarn, I just worked from the center pull and the outside to have the 2 strands that I needed for this part that I'm going to show you. So I'm going to start with the cowl, because when I explain this, then the hat is going to make a little more sense. All right, so hopefully you can see that the top is tapered in on this one just ever so slightly, and I do think I am going to block this one more time in a couple of ways that you can do this. And I did it to where the top tapers in a little bit more intentionally, so that there's a little more closeness around the narrow part of the neck and the face, and then it fans out just a little bit so that there's more drape when it comes down a little bit on the neck and the shoulders, so it's not such a square and gets too bunched up and tight in this area. I hope that makes sense. So you can do it however you like. So what I did, I guess, I don't know, would you consider this kind of color work? Because I did change them up, and I carried the yarns as I went, and I switched back and forth. So to let you know, it was a bit of a tedious process. If you're a fast crocheter, which I am, and I like to keep moving along, you have to slow down with this one to make sure, because using with multiple strands, you don't drop a loop for number 1, and to make sure your yarn gets carried up correctly and there's no extra gaps or it's not pulling too tight. So just being patient with it, taking your time, enjoying the process. Can't be in a rush with it, but as you can see, the end result, in my opinion, is just spectacular. And it's just amazing when you use different yarns, how it can create and change the overall look. So the yarn, I said, from Hobby Lobby is 100% superwash merino, and it's amazing how smooth and soft. That is a real pleasure. I've worked with the chunky weight before, but not the number 1 fine weight. And that's 420 yards, by the way, per 3.5 ounce, 100 gram hank. So it's a lot of yardage. What I did for the beginning, and if you follow along with that pattern, then this will make sense, where I started here, which I believe was a foundation half double crochet. I used 3 strands of the blue. So when I said I pulled 1 from the center pull and 1 from the outside of 1 cake, and then 1 strand from the 3rd cake, that made my 3. Then I changed the yarn again, and I did 2 strands of the sport weight in the knit crate yarn in this gorgeous amethyst with the stellina, and I did that probably 3 rounds. Okay, and I used an 5.5 millimeter hook for this entire band portion, and then again in this section here when I went back to the 3 strands of the blue. And then I stayed with the eye hook for about the 1/3 of the cowl to have that tapered in portion. And then 2 ways you can do this. You can either go up 1 hook size from whatever hook you started. So for this, it would be a 6 millimeter J hook. And then that helped to open it up a little bit. Okay, but then I went back down for the band because I wanted that to be just a little bit, to have more, like for the ribbing part, when I go down a hook size, it seems to give it a little bit more stretch, and I like that closer in for the stitches, for something that I really want that warmth retention and not have a lot of holes and open spaces in that. So you can do that, or you can stay in the same hook size throughout, and then if you block it, then you can just, however you block, and then just to the shape and size that you want, and then that can open it up also. So for the body of the work, I put 2 strands of the berry color with 1 strand of the amethyst together, and I did 2 rounds. Then I changed it. So every 2 rounds I changed. Then on the second set, and I'm working in a continuous round, I did 2 strands of the blue and 1 strand of the amethyst. All right, and then I set my yarn over with the berry, and then I carried that up, and then I switched back to the blue. So I alternated every 2 rows of each to the height that I wanted, and then again on this end I worked back and I did the same colors as I did here, but this sequence is worked just a little bit differently in the pattern itself to replicate the beginning side so that they matched as close as possible. And then now for the hat, I worked the band in the same way, except I did change it up a little. Now the original pattern where this was just a beanie, but I like to see different things that I can do with it and kind of the what if, and I will just look at something and study it and ponder it and picture what I want it to look like in my mind, and then figure out how to get there. So with this hat, I took a similar concept in how I did the convertible slouchy to cuff version, and I applied it to this, but with a twist. So I work the band portion according to the pattern, and then because my this gal, she wanted a cuff. She did not want the slouchy. So I wanted to be sure that both right sides were facing out. And because what happens is if I work the band and then I turn it, then the band becomes on the wrong side. Now it's not a bad thing on this hat, because as you can see, there's really very little, not much difference at all, because this is a reversible stitch. So you could, if you wanted to do this, work it in the way that I'm going to tell you for this version and make yourself a convertible slouchy to cuffed hat also. And so when I finished my cuff, instead of continuing working in the round on the right side, okay, I turned the cuff. Here's the right side. Let's pretend for a moment that the body of the hat, this is not here. I just have the band. So as you're working in a row, you're on the right side, and then you turn your work, right? You flip it, and then now you're on the wrong side of the work. That's where I worked the body of the hat. And then I did not turn back again and back and forth. I stayed on the wrong side, and I worked that. So now there's my right side being worked on the wrong side for the whole height of the hat. And that way, when I finished, when I flipped the band, and the right side of the work then lands on the outside. So that way it faces you. I just really hope that's coming across. But yeah, that's all you do. You know, you work the band, you turn it to the wrong side, you do the body of the hat in one continuous round, and then you just flip the band, and then the 2 right sides are facing on the outside. The only other thing is, because when you flip it, it takes up width of your hat, I just simply added additional rounds the width of the band. That way you can customize it however wide or narrow you want the band. Then that's how many rows of the body of the hat that you add before you do the decrease. There were a lot, a lot of ends to sew in, but that's the trade-off. You know, the trade-off in getting such a beautiful, one-of-a-kind, you know, custom, really nice piece. And you could easily add pretty flower, the beautiful button, or a little pin, or whatever you want to do, or not. I think it looks really nice either way. That was a bit of a challenge, but it was in a good way, and I learned a lot in the process, and then I can share what I've learned with you also. Okay, well, take good care. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, and I will see you again next time. Thanks so much, and bye for now.